SNY Jets analyst Connor Rogers joins us now for 3 and Out. All right, Connor, so what are the Jets' best options now for a quarterback?
Yeah, it's a thin market, Eamon. You look at free agency, there's not a lot. Malik Willis will be the big fish that multiple teams want. He's going to have a lot of options, of course, and I think he'll get a pretty good contract. And you have to wonder if that's a road that the Jets will go down. You have to wonder if that's a road that Malik Willis will consider as well, because, once again, he'll have a lot of options. And then you have to go into the trade market, right? You get away from free agency, look at guys that are under contract. A lot of people don't realize players like Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett, they're all under contract next year. So you'd have to call their respective teams and actually offer a draft pick if you wanted to acquire somebody like that. We know that it's probably over for Kyler Murray in Arizona. Once again, these are not highly intriguing options that are going to be out there and available. Kirk Cousins, I mean, you're looking at veteran names that they're going to be looking for work eventually for a reason. So the quarterback market in the pro market is very, very thin.
It just wouldn't be a Jets offseason without the mention of Jacoby Brissett as a possible quarterback. But so quarterbacks off the board for the draft. So where do you expect the Jets to go now with that number 2 pick?
Still a lot of great talent, even, debatable, but I think some blue chip talent here at the top when you look at number 2. Could you go get a game wrecker on defense? You look at somebody like Ruben Bain from Miami, who's just been a dominant force on the edge for them. You look at Caleb Downs from Ohio State. Yeah, I think people will be like, wow, a safety? Can you take a safety at 2? Downs is as special as they come at the position. He can help you on the back end in coverage, but he's so good at the line of scrimmage as well. And his teammate, Arbel Reese, who plays off-ball linebacker, but also gets some chances to rush the quarterback on the edge. He's a freaky athlete. He's got size. He'd really set the tone in the middle of the field, which is a huge problem for the Jets this year. And then the one that everybody should love, how about a playmaker, right? You look at Jordan Tyson. If you get over some of the medical concerns, which will be a big hurdle for him, I think, in this draft, he's a superstar, a special wide receiver talent, good route runner, crazy ball skills, somebody that can just kind of change the game at any moment. So he'd be one of the big-time playmakers you consider there, too. And then David Bailey's another pass rusher that I think it'll surprise some people to see David Bailey in that spot. But he dominated for Texas Tech this year, a year after dominating for Stanford. So he's done it at 2 different places right now. And I think he's somebody that in 2 or 3 years from now, we could be looking at him as one of those double-digit sack guys year after year.
Yeah, he's a great player, but Ruben Bain was a monster this year and could be again in the championship game for Miami. All right, Connor, the Jets are in quite a pickle here because they could wait for that 2027 draft for Dante Moore, Arch Manning, C.J. Carr to all possibly be there. But if they are, that means the Jets were most likely bad again and Aaron Glenn might be gone. So as a person who's seen this movie before, what's the solution to avoid that scenario?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, of course, what might be best for the Jets in the long haul might not be best for Aaron Glenn right now, where things could already be getting a little hot under him with a slow start next year. So I think the Jets would have to go into this draft, and just because there's not a quarterback for you to take at 2, do you look at, you have pick 33, you have another pick in the top 50. Is that territory for Ty Simpson, who could ultimately, after all of this, still end up going in the first round, maybe in a Jackson Dart type territory? So do you take him? Do you look for more of a flyer? We don't know if Trinidad Chambliss is ultimately going to be in this draft, an undersized guy, but very talented, who played his best college football this season. Do you wait even further and look at Garrett Nussmeier, who had a down year at LSU, but I'll tell you, Eamon, if he had declared last year, both him and Drew Aller, they could have snuck into the end of the first round if they declared. They opted to go back to school to try to be top 10 picks, and unfortunately, Aller got hurt. Nussmeier, everything went wrong around him, and his play kind of struggled as well. So they will look at this quarterback class. It'll just be kind of what the Giants, the Saints, those teams went into last year, and look for guys that might have to sit a little bit for a while, and then you see what you have in them. So things absolutely change with this news of Dante Moore, who also would have had to sit, but I think that would have been the guy that Glenn hitched his wagon to and tried to sell hope for the future with this franchise. Now they need to get a little bit more creative.
Connor, would Moore have even been the right choice for the Jets if he came out for the draft?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because it's all about the infrastructure, right? And you could argue right now, and they have time to make more hires, sign more talent in free agency. The Jets don't have the infrastructure necessarily right now where you feel optimistic about developing a raw 20-year-old quarterback, Eamon, that didn't make a ton of starts across multiple seasons of college football. So I think they would have had to take him because of the talent and absolutely having somebody that you're you're stashing for the future and you believe can be a franchise quarterback, which a lot of evaluators understandably do see that in Dante Moore. But Dante Moore just revealed the truth that he didn't even think he was ready for a situation like this. So ultimately, to me, I thought the best route, and it's not one I think they would have taken because it's easier for me to sit here in my office and say this versus people that are on the hot seat at times. I would have traded the second overall pick for a team that wanted to come up and select Dante Moore and made my roster better. And I think you wouldn't have to move far to do that. You had Arizona and Cleveland in the top 10. You still would have got a great player that you might take at 2 anyway. So I think Dante Moore not being in this draft would have hurt your chances of ultimately moving that pick.
All right, now the Jets also have a pick at 16. What players can be the main targets with that pick?
Yeah, this is still a good range. I see the drop-off in this first round closer to 20, 21, 22. At 16, one of the big 3 wide receivers still might be there between Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, Carnell Tate from Ohio State, and Mekhi Lemon from USC, who is one of the best at creating separation in this draft. So you can kind of look at it and go, I can get my playmaker at 2, but I have a really good chance to just get my playmaker at 16 as well. Or you could beef up the trenches, which was a big problem for the Jets this year on the defensive side of the ball. I look at Caden McDonald from Ohio State, the big nose tackle. He's the exact type of player that Aaron Glenn would love to have on this defense if he's trying to rebuild what he had in Detroit. You put Caden McDonald on a front with Harrison Phillips and Jawan Briggs, you finally have some beef, the ability to stop the run and push the pocket. And let's stick with Ohio State. Sonny Styles, the linebacker that plays behind him. If you don't take Arvell Reese, his teammate at 2, you want to go with a different position, you could still address your off-ball linebacker woes with Sonny Styles, the former safety, 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds, flies around and makes plays, tenacity. The Jets are missing that in the middle of the field. For whatever reasons, it just did not work with Aaron Glenn's scheme, Steve Wilks' scheme, Jamie and Sherwood, and Quincy Williams. So I think one of Sonny Styles or Arvell Reese would significantly upgrade the middle of the field.
Yeah, you know, I heard you guys on Jets postgame mention once or twice that Steve Wilks' scheme wasn't working, but that's in the past. What's your perfect world scenario of how the Jets handle the first round of the draft now with Moore not coming in the draft?
Yeah, you want to come away with a big-time talent on both sides of the ball, right? So you take a Ruben Bain, who's going to be picked apart for lack of arm length in this process. I would caution people to be careful with that. When the tape is showing you one thing, especially on some of the biggest stages of college football, the player's probably pretty good. He generates just speed to power from his base through his hands that reminds me a little bit of what Jared Verse was doing a couple of years ago at Albany and then Florida State. Jared Verse is a force for the Rams right now. So say you took Ruben Bain at 2, and now you feel good about your pass rush, which was very disappointing between Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald this year. And then you look at 16 and you go, now we need a little bit more firepower for the offense. Say we struck out in free agency at wide receiver, which there's a chance that they don't, and they could fix this unit in the pro market. But you look at who fell between Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and Mekhi Lemon. Sign me up for one of those 3 players. Denzel Boston from Washington would be the next wide receiver in that conversation as well. But that would be a situation where you have somebody in Bain that obviously affects both phases of offense, running the ball and throwing the ball, which the Jets need help with. And then whoever the quarterback is ultimately going to be, he's throwing to Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, find a way to retain Breece Hall and get a high-end rookie wide receiver in there as well. And all of a sudden your roster starts to look a lot better.
Well, now, Connor, certainly Jet fans will be locked in on that championship game watching Ruben Bain against Indiana. Connor Rogers, thanks for joining us and appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me, Eamon.